remember the way we used to move, dance all night like young lovers do. Your heart is changing. Now we don't dance like we used to. Silent disco on the floor, baby. Mr. DJ, he'll get me through. When the beat's gone, you can't save me, baby. Smoke.
This is Broad Radio. For you, by you. Broad Radio. Here for more.
Hello and welcome to Broad Radio. I'm Jo Stanley and my co-host today is the lovely Shelley Ware. Hello, Shelley.
Hello, Jo. Thanks for having me 2 weeks in a row.
Oh my gosh, it's such a blessing. You know, I'd have you almost every week if I could, but of course, you work in education, so I have to take advantage of school holidays when I can. Hey, it's our 40th show.
So exciting. Happy birthday.
I know.
Well done
my
to you.
gosh. Oh, well done to all of us. It's not just me. It's a massive team that's brought this together for 40 weeks. And we had a cake today brought to us by beautiful Ro. Look at that. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow.
I know. Look at
Stunning.
that cake. We haven't eaten it yet, but I wish you were here, Shelley, to share it with me. But this is thanks to Ro, our beautiful producer over there, who brought that along. She knows. I mean, you can't have a station all about women without cake, I think.
Cake fixes everything.
Cake fixes everything. It really does. Hey, we've got a beautiful show lined up for you. We've got the amazing, very hilarious comedian Judith Lucy joining us. She's one of our favourites and I think one of Australia's funniest women. We have commentator and author Kerry Sackville, who's one of our regular broads. She's going to come on and talk about the joys of receiving a package when you're in lockdown, online shopping. I don't know. Are you a culprit, Shell?
Yes.
you were so bashful. Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yes, and also today we're going to be joined by State Greens candidate Katie Clements, who's going to be talking about how we can get more women in Parliament effectively, which is, I think, really critical. And some of the things we've been talking about this year a lot, I think, would be solved by getting maybe more women in Parliament. So we're looking forward to that conversation, and it's all coming up after this. Broad Radio is proudly supported by Chemist Warehouse. Chemist Warehouse, great savings every day. Welcome to you. If you are joining us live on Facebook and YouTube, chuck us a follow or a like or a subscribe. If you are, would be really helpful to us. And we'd love it if you joined us in the comments. Already we've got someone saying, happy 40th show. Thanks, Melissa. That's very lovely. So do share your comments and your thoughts and your questions along the way today. We really love it when we hear from you. Also, you can catch up on any of our previous shows via podcast. Am I drunk? I haven't even had champagne yet. Via podcast with our podcast Broad Radio on the go, wherever you get your podcasts. And so, Shelley, how have your school holidays been going, by the way, Shell?
Oh, I've been busy. We're thinking of selling our home, so I've been decluttering and packing. So it's really been about that. What about yours?
I should be decluttering. I actually took 7 bags of clothes out of my daughter's wardrobe this week. I don't know. How does she grow so fast? But I was so happy that the grand final was on Saturday night. We're lovers of AFL footy. And, it was a distraction from the boredom.
Yeah. It was what we all needed. It certainly was. It electrified everything.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. Loved that game. It was such a great game.
Yeah, what did you think of it was sort of, Western Bulldogs and the Melbourne Footy Club, both of them had our hearts in a lot of ways, because the Doggies often is the team that people barrack for as their second team, but Melbourne had been 57 years. I was kind of torn. Who am I barracking for? Who did I want to see win?
Yeah, I was torn. I think I went about 3 or 4 different ways the whole entire way through the game because I barracked for the Blues, so I wasn't too bothered by who actually won. But I do have a very, very, very soft spot for Melbourne. We've a love of ours, Neville Jetta. He's played for them for so many years, and so we've fallen in love with the other players along the way as well. So I think the softest spot was with Melbourne, so we were thrilled for them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Gorney. I am a big fan of Christian Petrarca, and I love Ben Brown, who, of course, he's come to Melbourne from North Melbourne. And Ben Brown is an outstanding person. He's an ambassador for Our Watch, so he does a lot of work with his wife Hester in the space around, stopping violence against women and children. He's an extraordinary man.
He is one of the best humans walking on this earth. Like, he genuinely is. I've had the pleasure of meeting him several times, and Hester, his wife, and I would consider them friends, and they are genuinely the nicest people on this earth. They blow my mind away.
Jeez, that is a massive rap. What pressure to be the nicest people on earth. Like, you could never lose your temper if someone stole your car park, could you? Or maybe they just don't even think to do that because they're the nicest people on earth.
Well, you can still be angry and nice. It's okay to get angry, but they are genuinely good souls.
I really like that. You can still be angry and nice. Of course. Of course. Anger is an important emotion. What about also too, it was so fantastic to have 2 female presidents of a footy club in the grand final.
It was fantastic to see 2 female presidents, and then to see Daisy Pearce, seeing her also commentate the game. She's the first woman ever to broadcast and commentate a live match, or an AFL match of a grand final, squeeze me. So, it was absolutely wonderful to see that. I was just so proud of her. I thought she was magnificent.
She's an outstanding commentator. Did she not just win an award? I wish I knew that. Yes, she won. She just won, in the big awards.
Oh, yes, of course, for the AFL Media Awards. She won an award there.
Yes, she did. So, best we love that.
Yeah.
Hey, as we're talking about celebrations in our 40th show, Shelley, I have had flashbacks to my 40th birthday when I turned 40. And I can't say I loved turning 40. I can't say I embraced the new decade. No, I have to say I remember turning 40 with great sadness because there were so many things I felt like I was shutting the door to. How did you go? Like, significant birthdays, they have this sort of way, this power of making you reflect on your life, and sometimes that's not positive.
I know what you mean. My 40th, I loved. I only really celebrate the big ones. And next year is actually my 50th.
Me too.
And this one, yes, I know. So this was a different one for me. I'm actually already starting to feel like, hang on, I've got to take a few more deep breaths to get through this one. I don't think it'll be the day. I think it's got a little bit to do with my dad passing at 50. So I'm a bit nervous about entering there, so that's probably playing a bit more of a role. But I'm massive on the milestone birthdays, but the rest, just nothing. I don't even really care if I celebrate them. It's weird. I'm weird.
Well, no, that's totally fair. And I think that so when you turned 40, were you okay with being the big 4-0, as they say?
Okay, loved it. Had a massive party. Was great. Yep, loved it. No problems. 50, I'm taking a few deep breaths.
Why? What's the significance of 50 for you?
Well, I think it was just because my dad passed away at 50. So I'm a bit worried. I've had my heart checked a few times and done all of those things, had my blood test, had every test known to mankind to make sure I make it through. But that's probably it. And I think it's also you're stepping into that next level of just being a touch older and looking at your own children and go, I've only got one child, but looking at my child and saying, I'm getting really quite old. And that is a worry for me. What am I going to miss out on? Or what can I still do? But trying to also pull myself back into being present.
Also, I think we are surrounded by images of what middle age is. And when we grew up, so my father passed when I was very young, so I only had my mum as an example. And as she went through middle age in the 80s, middle age was middle age, right? But now we are midlife. But I don't want to be middle-aged. It's kind of
Yeah.
I want to reject these notions of whatever that decade of the 50s is going to be.
Definitely. Like my nana looked like she was 80 when she was 40, the way she dressed, everything. And then when I look at it, she was only 40. You know, that's just so completely different. How are you feeling about turning 50?
I'm really excited. I'm really, because 40 was bad for me. And a lot of it was related to fertility and the fact that I desperately wanted another baby and that was not happening, right? So kind of grief around that, and also menopause and just weirdness and just going, I look back now and realise I was going through menopause, didn't know, but I was just like, oh, just trauma, just, I don't know, hormones. And I think I had maybe a slight breakdown and didn't know. I don't know. It was bizarre. Anyway, I just can't remember feeling like on top of things. Just it was a total blur and very unhappy. But my 50s, and Broad Radio is very tied up in this. I'm so determined to make it the most productive decade of my life and really feel like I'm alive every day. Because what a blessing. Like your father didn't make it past 50. My father didn't make it past 32. It is a constant reminder that every single day is a blessing, and let's live it. I'm so excited. Yes. And I'm inspired by this woman. Shelley. This is Iris Apfel, who's 100 on the cover of Harper's Bazaar Arabia. Look at her. I mean.
Absolutely.
Oh,
gorgeous.
God, where do I get a dress that looks like a giant rose bush? Like, look at it. She's literally sitting in a rosebud. I love it.
I want that dress. Is it a jacket or is it a dress? Jacket. It's a jacket and skirt, I think. I just want that so badly, and I want to stroll through the streets wearing it.
It's never too late to be on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, Shelley. Let that be the lesson here. And as we speak of being on the cover of something, you never know, it might happen to this woman. Our first guest may have been on the cover of magazine. I can see her smirking at me as I introduce her. She is one of Australia's greatest comedians, and we're thrilled to have her. Judith Lucy, hello.
Hello, and oh God, I've got a pop. Happy birthday! Happy 40th!
Oh my goodness! Do you remember your 40th or your 50th? How do you go with significant birthdays, Jude?
Well, I've been really lucky because just before I turned 40, a really significant relationship ended. And just before I turned 50, a really significant relationship ended. But I must say, I did not have a problem with turning 40. And I had this great little experience happen because I was meant to have a big party, relationship ended, thought, no, I won't do that. So I just had sort of a small dinner in my house. But I still did the thing of, telling my neighbours, putting a little letter in their letterboxes. Anyway, I was cleaning my house. I'd mopped the floor. Beautiful visual for everyone there. I was waiting for it to dry. And then, so my front door was open. This woman knocked on the door and I'm up the other end of the house, which that makes it sound like a mansion. It was about 2 meters away. And she had a bottle of champagne and we just yelled the whole conversation, but she just went, I'm your next door neighbor's mother. And I wanted to say happy 40th. I'm 73 and I'd give anything to be 40 again. And look, to be honest, the champagne was shit, but the sentiment was wonderful. So I actually felt great about 40. 50 I found slightly more challenging, I will admit. And that was really because my life had just completely fallen apart. And that's, I think, what's going to do it to you every time. And it's some of the stuff you were touching on, like my brother died a few years before that. I became menopausal. I had the whole midlife crisis. I had a horrendous relationship breakup. And there's no getting around the fact that when you hit 50, the chances of you living, you've got less time ahead of you. Let's be brutally honest. Unless I'm living till I'm past 100. And if my past is anything to go by, if I make it past 65, it'll be a miracle. So I'm just aware of the clock ticking.
Yes.
It's so true. That's. I think I actually cried about that last week, to be perfectly honest with you. I looked at my son and I was like, I don't have enough time. I got very, very upset. So I hear
you're never going to have enough time. But it's everything you were saying, Jo. That's why you've just got to, be in the moment as much as you can without getting all Eckhart Tolle or however you pronounce honest. But yeah, and I kind of like, after plunging into the depths of despair about it, then I just went, okay, well, what can my body still do? And instead of getting really down about, you know, wrinkles and menopause and a dry vagina, I thought, no, God damn it. Look, I'm still doing yoga. I learned how to ride a bike last year. I'm getting my learners. This is what I decided to do in my 50s. I decided to actually learn the skills that most people learned when they were a toddler or a teenager. So I've learned how to ride a bike. I'm having swimming lessons. Well, I will when we're allowed to do that again. I'm learning how to drive. So, you know, it's all ahead of me. Well, that's the straw I'm clutching on to.
You know, I didn't bring it down here. I was going to bring my my copy of your book, Turns Out I'm Fine, which really does kind of, it paints a picture of the very difficult time that you had over the last few years around your beautiful brother dying and your relationship breakup and all of those terrible things that you went through. But it's navigating age. That's what you're doing in this book. And I'm going to quote you. I love it. You said, I knew I wanted not just to make peace with aging, but embrace it. And that society wasn't going to help me with that. Do you think we ever find peace?
Oh, my theory is that you have a moment of incredible clarity and insight and you go, oh my God, I get it. And then you drop dead. I think it's just a lifelong battle, really. Don't you think it's like peeling an onion? Because I feel like in my 30s, I went, oh God, I was an idiot in my 20s and I worked some stuff out. And then you get to 40 and it's the same thing. You know, you thought you maybe knew some stuff in your 30s and then you go, no, I didn't. And so I do absolutely feel that you get wiser as you get older. But I don't think the process ever stops. I don't think you ever wake up one morning and go, well, that's life sorted. And, you know, you're on some plateau from there on in, some plateau of incredible joy and contentment. I don't think so. I actually believe one of the reasons we're here is just to keep learning. And one thing I've been learning as this morning has gone along is every now and then I'll just get a glimpse of myself, which is horrifying. And the unfortunate thing is I haven't had a haircut now for about 4 months. And those people with curly hair will know that after a point, it doesn't grow down, it just grows out. So it was just alarming to see the cover of the book and remember what it was like when, you know, there was some style happening. But anyway, these are the sort of details that I'm meant to be letting go of when I'm in my 50s.
Now, one of the blessings of lockdown you've just touched on is certainly not going anywhere, but it's also that we are wearing these lovely masks and hiding ourselves when we go out. So besides your hair, have you bothered with any other beauty during lockdown?
Do you know, Shelley, and this is one of the things about aging, it does become a lot about management. Managing the physical stuff, because I went over and had dinner with my bobble buddy, Andrea, a couple of weeks ago. And thank God you can do that. I mean, I don't know if you remember when in Melbourne, you know, you could see an intimate partner, but you couldn't see a friend. And that was really challenging if you were a single person living alone. Like at one point, Andrea rang me up last year and said, you know, I just want to come over for a cup of tea. And I said, well, it's all very well and good, but to keep this legal, you're going to have to sit on my face. And apart from anything else, that would have made drinking my Earl Grey tea very tricky. But anyway, sorry to any parents who might have to explain that joke to their children. But I went over to Andrea's house a couple of weekends ago, and before I went, I had to do my feet exercises because my bunions have really turned into something. And the other thing I had to do was shave my face. Because, of course, the great thing about wearing a mask is that it does hide a lot of stuff that's going on. And I have honestly reached a point where part of my beauty regime is now face shaving. I was in my therapist's toilet just before the whole pandemic hit, and I don't know whether she was angling for more sessions or what. She's a wonderful therapist, but it's the brightest bathroom in the world. And, you know, I was looking at myself in the mirror. I was probably reapplying my lipstick, and I had this moment of just going, oh my God, I'm so hairy. I look like a German Shepherd. And look, if you've decided to embrace your facial hair, then I take my hat off to you, but I'm not there yet. I'm not quite ready to look like a half woman, half dandelion. So I bought one of those shavers that, well, Denise, Scott and I both bought one. Yes. And we started shaving, and then Scotty made the discovery that it was great, but then a couple of days later she had stubble. And this was a real thing because, of course, as she pointed out, that's all well and good if you're in a boy band. But as a middle-aged woman, stubble is not what you want to greet the world with. So then I bought another contraption that actually rips it out at the root. So it means I've got a smoother finish once I've stopped bleeding.
You know, we actually we had Scotty on the show earlier this year, and she pulled out the lady shaver, and she actually did it. She demonstrated the lady shaver on the show, which was it was a real treat. But I would agree with you that, I mean, how shit's menopause? And I have to acknowledge there's a dog barking, which I do. As a part of it's live, but how shit's menopause that you lose your eyesight and grow whiskers at the same time, so you don't know that it's there.
But is that meant to be the thing that's comforting? That we just, you know, we can't see things quite as clearly as we used to. So then it's just really up to other people to be horrified on our behalf. And we're just blindly forging ahead, just thinking, I look fantastic. Yeah. It's terrible though, isn't it? Because I feel like if we lived in a different sort of society, we wouldn't hate menopause as much as we do. Because, I mean, without, I don't know, sounding like I'm about to start talking about my yoni, I just really feel that, you know, we're so obsessed with youth, and we're so obsessed with women being past their use-by date after a certain age, that you are meant to feel kind of like it's some sort of death knell, instead of going, okay, well, this is a completely natural process that all cis women will go through, and it's actually just moving on to the next stage of life where I should be wiser and respected and feeling good in my own skin. But unfortunately, because of the world we live in, we just go, oh my God, I don't look 27 anymore, I should take my own life. So I get a bit resentful about that.
Yeah, I agree with you. So in your book, It Turns Out I'm Fine, you talk a lot about menopause. Exactly how shit was your experience for the listeners?
And, you know, I do want to point out that turns out I'm fine. I have set a pretty low bar. It's not like I've gone, turns out I'm amazing. I've just gone, turns out I'm fine. And, you know, it should probably have been turns out I'm fine for now. But I think for me, I actually had a slightly unusual menopause experience because my brother died when I was 46, and I just became menopausal like that, just overnight. So there was no peri, I hadn't gone to Nando's, there was nothing like that. I just seemed to plunge straight into it. And I did not menstruate, like not a drop, for 2.5 years. So, of course, I thought, well, that's that. And then I started getting sort of weird half periods again. So, and that's the wonderful thing about menopause. I think everyone goes on their own special personal journey. But I remember when I first read about it, well, when I first realized, oh my God, this is it. And I remember coming across this hideous article that had all of these potential symptoms. And some of the ones that horrified me the most were change of odor, incontinence. It said there were 3 types of incontinence, but my favorite was urge incontinence, where, and I quote, the bladder develops a mind of its own. You know, oh, who needs a toilet? There's a shoe. I mean, I thought, isn't life hard enough? without things like urge incontinence. And of course, we all know about the hot flushes, but one of the symptoms as they described it was for some women, the hot flushes are so bad, they feel like they are being engulfed by flames. Stop screaming, Joan of Arc. It was just hormonal. And it's just incredible to me that on top of all the other crap women have to deal with, we're dealing with that. And it's only really quite recently that people have started talking about menopause. I mean, I look back now on when my mother was clearly going through it. And of course, she didn't say a word. And she was obviously just expected to suck it up.
I know, it's extraordinary. Back then it was just they might have referred to the change, but that was it.
Yeah.
There was no conversation around it, and certainly there was no opportunity to go and seek help. I love the book, Judith. I started stand up around, you had already been on the scene for quite a long, I don't know, maybe a few years. I don't know, when I started doing stand up.
That makes sense, because I'm 53, so I'm certainly a few years ahead in that area.
Yeah, but what I remember though, Jude, was how important it was to me to see you doing stand up in such a male dominated industry, and to see you do it, from my perspective, it looked like you were doing it with ease. You were so, from the minute you're on stage, so self-assured, so funny. But then reading your book, to learn the anxiety that comes with it. And I found that so amazing, because I just assumed, isn't that just standard for performance, right? But your audience wouldn't have any idea of the anxiety that you're managing when you're working.
We're all just pretending, aren't we? I must admit, the anxiety, as you would know from the book, I went through periods where it was quite crippling, and I was having panic attacks on stage, and that was hideous, because suddenly something that I really loved doing became something that I actually dreaded from the moment I woke up in the morning. And thanks to, yoga and meditation mainly for me, I am now so much better in terms of anxiety. And so I mean, that has been one of the great things about aging for me, is that I am probably having more fun on stage now than I ever have before. So it'll be great when I actually get to do that again and remember what it's like to be in front of an audience. But I mean, you are right though, in that, no, hopefully the audience would never have picked it. And I think you would obviously know this too, Joe. I mean, audiences are like wolves. They can just smell the fear on you. So if you don't go out there looking supremely confident and like you're totally on top of everything that's going on, people know that. And that means you just don't get the laughs. So yes, there was a bit of acting going on there. But now I feel like I finally reached a good point, which means I'm probably about to drop dead. But hopefully not. But can I say, honestly, if we're doing a bit of, blowing smoke up people's bottoms, I think the fact that you're doing this and what you've particularly done, not just for women in comedy, but women in radio, is just unbelievably impressive. And the fact that you have started this station, I just applaud you, Joe Stanley. Seriously, I think it's fantastic. And I did not have the illustrious career in radio that you had, but I certainly experienced how difficult it can be as a woman on commercial radio. And so the fact that you have done this, I just think is, incredible and deserves all our support.
Oh, thanks, Jude. That's really lovely. I mean, you and I have had different experiences of radio, but also the same in that it's a hard game, and you're surrounded by people, largely men, who don't have your best interest at heart and aren't the kindest, and it can be a really brutal game. And I guess broad radio for me is because I love radio still. Yeah, I love it.
So good at it. So yeah.
But there's a way of making it inclusive and really warm and kind and compassionate, and really bring that feminine energy that I think a lot of radio lacks. So and also voices of women over 40. Isn't that unique?
It certainly is unique. And this is what I find really fascinating and kind of extraordinary and wonderful about women, is that so often we have to make our own work, especially after a certain age. You kind of go, oh, okay, so you're not going to employ me anymore. So now I guess I'll just have to do my own stuff. And I have seen women do that time and time again. And I mean, this is kind of why my main things now are performing live, doing a podcast series and writing a book, because that was essentially work I could make for myself. Because, you know, I'm finding it really hard to get a gig on television these days. Commercial radio said goodbye to me a long time ago. But what I love about the women that I really respect is that we go, well, that's not going to shut us up. We will find a way. We will find a way because we know the audience is out there.
Yeah.
And it's just the gatekeepers that decide, well, you're a woman over 40, maybe you should be dead now. But no, there are lots of people out there who still want to hear from us. So we just have to navigate our way through to find them. And that's exactly what you're doing. So it's great.
Oh, thanks. And Shell, I see you nodding when it comes to the fact that we have to make our own work and find our audiences which are there.
Yeah, so true. I've worked in television for 20 years and no longer. Now I'm 50. Ta-da, Shelley.
And do you really feel that's what happened? I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't have been said overtly, but would you put it
playing
down
a
to
huge role. Yes,
Yeah.
it's very obvious that's what's happened. Yeah, it's part of the reason. I would say definitely.
Well,
Just
I'm
sad.
It's
Look at us go.
extraordinary because I think we all know that it does not affect our male colleagues in the same way. I am seeing, you know, men in their 50s, white, straight men going great guns. And it's kind of like you do go, hang on, aren't we meant to be trying to make the landscape like about 1 million times more diverse? And yet that just doesn't really seem to be happening.
Yeah, it's really quite baffling. And geez, I'm happy to swoop in on your availability, Shelley. And you too, Jude. Let's get you back on the show. And when we're a fully fledged station,
Yes, please.
let's get you and Kaz Cook back on air. I would love that.
Oh, as would Kaz Cook and I, because this is the thing, like you. I mean, I love radio, but there are actually just so many, the opportunities are so limited, especially if you're a woman. So again, God bless you, Joe Stanley.
Oh, well, God bless you too, Judith Lucy. I have to mention that you, we're running out of time, unfortunately, but so you found this great purpose and doing incredible work with the Ningaloo project. Tell us very quickly about that.
Oh, so I just had an amazing experience. Some people might have known I did a podcast series for the ABC called Judith Lucy, Overwhelmed and Dying. And that ended with me having this incredible experience where I got to go snorkeling at Ningaloo Reef with a humpback whale and then a whale shark, while author Tim Winton was holding my hand. And I am a huge Tim Winton tragic. So I just had this moment. I was above a humpback whale. I'm a terrible swimmer, which is why Tim Winton had to hold my hand. And I honestly remember thinking, if I drop dead right now, that would be kind of fine. Life's not going to get much better than this. But it was that moment where I kind of went from going, yeah, climate change is a bummer, but hasn't Leonardo DiCaprio kind of got it covered? He'll sort it out. You know, doing the stuff that we all do, like recycling and trying to take more public transport. But there was something about that experience that just made me go, no, this is the most important thing. How could I not make this issue the most important issue? Because it affects everything else that I feel strongly about. You know, educating women is going to be one of the things that, you know, makes a real difference when it comes to climate change. Refugees, we know that is a problem that is only going to get so much worse because of climate change. So it's kind of like if we don't start off with that and then sort out all the other stuff we need to around it, like, you know, inequality, then I don't know where we are. So yes, I must admit I have become one of those women in their 50s who's, you know, really going with a cause. And can I just plug a benefit I'm doing on Thursday night? It's for a wonderful organisation called Climate for Change. They're an incredible grassroots organisation where they basically go into people's living rooms and they have, well, they're kind of like sex toy parties, except they talk about climate. So, you know, Less vibrators, more talk of glaciers melting, but a little bit similar. But if you get onto their website, that's from 6 to 8:30 on Thursday, and there's fantastic people like Sarah Wilson and Rebecca Huntley, who wrote the book How to Talk About Climate Change in a Way That Makes a Difference. Simon Toohey, which some of you might know, he was a MasterChef finalist. He's going to be on Cooking Up a Storm. So yes, if you're free on Thursday and you feel like an uplifting couple of hours where you don't think about earthquakes, riots, and people urinating on the Shrine of Remembrance, get along.
Amazing, Judith. We actually had Climate for Change on the show earlier this year, and they are an extraordinary organisation doing some fantastic things. And they really put the steam up me as well as far as climate change is concerned. And I agree with you, Judith. Thank you so much and well done. It's just awesome to have you on the show. We'll have you again sometime.
That would be wonderful. I look forward to you looking back on your 40th birthday and going, that was nothing.
You bet. You bet. Thanks, Jude. Take care.
See you, ladies. Have a great day.
You too. And we'll have more Broad Radio after this. Alrighty, well, so speaking of changing the world, we did ask on our LinkedIn earlier this week, Shelley, what's the best way to change the world, right? And obviously everybody goes for, you've got to be the change, right? Which obviously you must be the change. But some very courageous people actually say, no, you know what, I'm going to go further. I'm going to put my hand up and run for government, whether it's local, state or federal. And I think that takes extraordinary guts. And one such person is Greens candidate for Mildura, Katie Clements. Hi there, Katie.
Hello.
It's great to have you on the show. Now, you've had a go at local government, narrowly missed out on being elected there. And now you've set your sights on state election. And let me tell you, my gut goes, why would you do that? How could you possibly have that courage?
Yeah, I just came down to really with a local government election that I really wanted to have a go and bring my own values. And then I also was involved with the Greens because they shared a lot of my same values. And I thought, well, I'm running for local council. Why don't I run as a Green? And for a country person, so up in near Mildura Rural City Council, and as a woman, people kind of looked at me and went, "Are you crazy? Do you not want to get elected?" Because sometimes the Greens aren't as popular in the country, but we only narrowly missed out, which is fantastic. So basically, yeah, I want to be the change and inspire other people to do the same. So I'm a teacher in my day job, but I wanted to inspire young people. But then I thought, well, why not me? Why can't I? So I had to go.
I love your attitude. Now, there are far fewer women members in Parliament. Is it harder for women, and what are some of the barriers?
Yeah, so even at the local council level, there's quite a lot of barriers in terms of having to put up with things that our male counterparts don't really have to. So even in the Mildura local council election, there was quite a lot of social media nastiness towards the female candidates. And one of the candidates actually dropped out because of that. And so I guess we do have to kind of have a bit more of a thicker skin and really try to get past some of those things that other people don't have to worry so much about, which is a real shame. But at the same time, we get a lot of support from other women too, and other men too. So that support from others is really important, and that's what I had in my local area for sure.
I do love that you say, why not me? Because a lot of us have those moments where the voice inside us says, I want to do this, or I want to do that. I'm going to do this. And then there's another voice that is often much louder and more powerful that says, oh, no, that's not for you. That's another person's life. What drives you? What do you hope to change?
And you're right about that. And I guess when I heard you talking earlier about, turning 40 and that sort of thing, I left a lot of that stuff behind, I think, when I turned 40. And I'm hoping to leave a lot more of that behind when I'm a bit older too. So I think with age comes a bit more wisdom. But even still, I still have those times where, even before today, I'm thinking, why on earth would people want to listen to me, basically, it just really comes down to you've got to be, people can't be what they can't see. So if we want more women in Parliament, you have to be a woman in Parliament. If you want more women in local government, you've got to be a woman in local government. So I thought, sure, well, I'll lead by example, and hopefully people will come along with me and people will come after me as well.
Now, you've got a particular issue with the part of our constitution that you're seeing as limiting women being elected into federal Parliament. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Australian Constitution, Section 44, states that if anyone is getting revenues from the Crown, that they cannot stand for an election. So that means anyone who works at a state government level in Victoria, because each state actually interprets this differently, which is another bit of a problem. So as a state school teacher, if I wanted to run in a federal election, which I did, then I would have to resign my position as a school teacher, give up all my benefits, and then if I don't get elected, I may be reinstated as a teacher in Victoria. So there's actually no guarantee that if I resign my position to run for federal Parliament, that I will actually get my job back. And that doesn't, not just for women, that's for men as well. But as we know, the teaching industry, the teaching profession is made up primarily of women. So, you know, you're actually risking your livelihood by having to do that, which is unfair. And it's undemocratic because more candidates would run if they didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that means that we do see this skew of the sorts of people that run are, you know, barristers and like lawyers and doctors and people who are more in that kind of line of work rather than, your public servants. And so it is very exclusionary, isn't it?
It's very much so, yeah. So, I thought, well, that needs to change as well. So through the AEU, I'm making inquiries, the Australian Education Union, to see if we can sort some of that stuff out. And if there is a way that a Victorian school teacher doesn't have to resign their position, then it needs to be clearer, because at the moment the guidelines are not clear. So people who are already financially secure can run for Parliament, people who are self-employed, or anyone who doesn't work for public service can run. So you're actually excluding a large proportion of the population, and in industries that are primarily occupied by women. So, very exclusionary.
It seems like, are they thinking it's a conflict of interest? Because I'm not getting it, because I would think a lawyer or a doctor that may want to run, there could be conflict of interest there and some laws that they may want to bring forward. So where's the idea of their conflict of interest for a teacher or someone in the public service? Do you know? Is there any understanding?
I can understand the conflict of interest stuff. Like, I mean, obviously, as teachers, we are politically neutral in the classroom, and of course, you know, I would expect that, and that's how teachers behave. But so really, day to day, we don't do that anyway. So if we were to run for Parliament, that wouldn't affect our daily life anyway. So, and obviously people can see that we are running for a political party, and that could affect, the conflict of interest there, or trying to sway people a certain way, or trying to influence, students. And you don't want to do that. You want to have critical thinking, open-minded students. You don't want to sway them one way or another. But when it comes down to it, we don't bring that into the classroom anyway. So, and if that was the case, we could even take leave. Okay, so you can take leave. You don't have to resign your position, but take leave for that time. And that's what what Phil Cleary did. He took leave in the election, I think it was 1992 or 1993. But it was taken to the High Court with Sykes versus Cleary, and as a result, the High Court determined that because he was employed as a Victorian teacher at the time of selection, he was ineligible, and therefore there had to be a by-election. So, yeah.
That's just, I have to say, because Shelley's in education also, and my mum's a teacher, and I'm surrounded by teachers, and I would suggest that teachers are the kinds of people you do want in Parliament, because firstly, you're educated, you have that openness of thought and your analytical thinking, and great leaders and, fantastic values. I want more teachers in Parliament. That would be amazing.
And I often said, or teachers often say, imagine if the education minister had been a teacher. Like, how different would that be? Or our immigration minister was an immigrant, or, that sort of stuff. Like, how different could it be? And that's what it's about. It's about doing things better. I mean, I think politics and government can be done so much better. And people are getting frustrated with, the tit for tat. They said this, they did that. I just want leaders who can lead a compassionate society,
Oh, so. God. Hello, sister. We are behind you on that. So what's next for you?
Right. So I ran for local government as a Green candidate and just missed out from there. I wanted to run in the federal election, but that's not been called yet. So if the Constitution changes or something happens before then, maybe. But I'm thinking about running for state. So that's something that's I'm thinking about, but there is a process to go through for that. So the pre-selection process and so forth. So that's something I'm thinking about, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Katie. We wish you all the best, and thanks for bringing light to this really important issue. It clearly is something that needs to be cleared up to get more women in Parliament, which Broad Radio is very much behind. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. We'll have more Broad Radio after this.
My workout routine comes with me wherever I go, and so does Bondi Protein. It gives me the post-workout nutrients I need. Fuel your body with Australian-made Bondi Protein.
Broad Radio. Talking inspo we love, info we need, and sharing more of us. Watch and listen live every Tuesday 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time at broadradio.com.au or find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and LinkedIn at Broad Radio Oz. Talk to us live. Call on 1300 8 Broad. Catch up on demand anytime, anywhere, every time, everywhere. On the train, we'll be here. 2 a.m. existential crisis, we've got you covered. Broad Radio, here for more.
Oh, what a show we've had. We've covered all the issues from dry vagina to getting women in Parliament. I think to wrap it up, we need to have one of our favourite broads on the show, Kerry Sackville. Hi there, Kaz.
Hello and happy birthday, 40.
I know. What about that? How was your? How did you go with your 40s, 50s? I don't know how many significant birthdays you've had, love. I don't like to judge.
I've had a few. My 40th was good. I was quite happy to turn 40. My 50th, I cried the whole day, and I'm sort of ashamed to say that because I really feel that women are fabulous at any age, and we get better as we get older, and stuff the cultural standards that tell us that we're waste products kind of after 50, as Judith was talking about. But I'm human and I live in that culture, and I really, really struggled with it. And I found there was a big difference between turning 49 and turning 50. And, I'm about to turn 53, and I think it's taken me a good 3 years to come to terms with being 50. And by the time I'm really into it, I'll be turning 60. But hopefully I'll deal with that better.
Isn't that the way that we're always so conflicted between what we know we want to feel, right? So the actual truth of us, but then society comes in and just robs us of that sense of self and that sense of kindness towards ourselves.
Why is 50 so significant, and why did it feel so challenging for me? I had to really think about it, and I do think it was all the messages that were coming at me. You can be gorgeous and sexy and fabulous and achieve and everything, but by the time you turn 50, everything is for your age. So it's like you're gorgeous for your age. You're fabulous for a 50-year-old. You're sexy, even now. And I hate that. And I also, I'm conflicted even more because I also feel, all these women now who are fabulous and sexy and wonderful at 50, but also why should we be fabulous and sexy at 50? Why is it still about, our currency is whether we look good for our age? So it's very challenging to be a female in midlife, and it's really not for men. It's very, very different for men. I bumped into a guy I dated briefly bumped into him a few weeks ago, and I think he must be 57 now, and he was pushing a pram, and my first thought was, oh, he's got a grandchild. And of course, no, he has a newborn, because at 57, men can still, be reproducing and having new families and be considered hot. And at 52, the idea of me with a baby is just hilarious. I mean, the best chance I've got is if one of my, my 20 or my 22-year-old comes home with a child, which is not going to happen. So it's very, very different.
So what would your advice be to women like Jo and myself who are just about to turn 50? How could we better handle the day?
If I knew that, I probably wouldn't have cried my whole 50th birthday. I think we have to keep reminding ourselves that this really is just cultural bullshit. And there is no difference between someone who's 48 and someone who's 50. And to remind yourself that, your life is still full and amazing. And I've had such tremendous things happen to me in the last kind of year of my life that I wouldn't have imagined happening. I'll have another book come out. I'm still writing columns. I'm still doing interviews like this. I still have a lot to offer. And we just have to be aware. We can't kind of deconstruct these messages until we know what they are. And so I think we have to be aware of the messages that are coming to us and remind ourselves over and over again that this is just nonsense, and to reject them, and to remember what our lives actually are and who we are and what we mean.
I've found I look at the next, I'm hoping 30, 40 years of my life, I don't know, as a real start to a whole different stage. And also the blessing that comes with this age, and Melissa on Facebook has shared this as well, the older you get, you care less about what others think, which isn't that freeing?
So true. I was thinking about the last time I was on the show and my bras were in the background and how funny I found it. And I still remember being a kid and walking through my bedroom with the window open, and I was in my underwear, and I thought the boy next door had seen me, and I wanted to die. It was just the most excruciatingly humiliating moment. And then I look at the things that happened in my 20s, the rejections, and then even in my 30s, the career setbacks. And now, I have setbacks, or I have embarrassments, or, minor humiliations, and I genuinely laugh it off because I can see in the whole tapestry of my life that it really doesn't mean much, and there'll be good things ahead. And I think that when you get to this age, you really do have a sense of how life does throw good and bad things at you, and you're much more able to handle the bad because you know that it's going to pass and there'll be good things ahead. You don't know what they are. It could be a surprise. It could be something that you've been hoping for or expecting, but there are definitely good things ahead. And the one thing that I think I've learned is that even at this age, maybe even particularly at this age, life is constantly surprising. I'm constantly surprised at what it throws out. And I like that.
Yeah. So do you think, do you think with age that you speak your mind more as well? Do you find that that's happened to you? Because it certainly has happened to me.
I'm laughing. Can I say I'm laughing though, Shell? Because do you get that thing where it just comes out of you and you're like, holy shit, I just said that to a stranger? Because we call it unsolicited feedback. You're just spilling it out wherever you go.
Shocking. I'm shocking.
Oh, Kerri, are you there? You froze for a second there.
I am. No, I'm here. I've always done that. I suppose that's why I found my niche as an opinion writer. I've always done that. But the difference is I used to come away from these interactions thinking, oh, shit, what the hell did I just say? And now I don't care. Great. A complete stranger just heard my feedback on how my undies were sticking out of my jeans, or, I just commented. I mean, also having kids, my kids are constantly mortified by me, and I've been mortified by them in the past. I still remember sitting or coming out of a toilet stall when one of my kids was quite young and there were other people there, and my daughter announced to the entire bathroom, "Mummy just did a big poo-poo." And, once you've gone through a few things like that, you really don't care about anything anymore. And also I think being in the media plays a part as well, because when you are in the media, when you are expressing your opinions, no matter what you say, you'll get a whole stack of people writing to you and saying, "Oh, I agree completely. Thank you for saying that." And then you'll always get a bunch of people saying you stupid moron, you know, what the hell do you know? Shut up and go away, no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
And you become quite inured to that. You know, you just let it roll over you because you understand on a very fundamental level that no matter what you say, no matter what you think, no matter what you do, there'll be people who love you for it and there'll be people who hate you for it. You can never please everybody, so you stop even caring about that.
Oh, it's the best feeling. And it certainly has come to me in my 40s just to not give a shit what other people think. It's just joyous. So, Kez, though, you've been in lockdown in Sydney, we're in lockdown in Melbourne, and you shared with me that one of the greatest joys is the regular arrival of packages on your doorstep.
Can I tell you guys, on Friday, I had 3 packages. It was a really, really good day. Like any day that's a package day is a good day, but getting 3 packages is just sublime. You know, I kind of became addicted to packages at the beginning of lockdown when I started doing just online grocery shopping, you know, because my kids weren't vaccinated and I just didn't want to risk going to the supermarket. There'd been a couple of scares there. And I realized that getting my groceries in those brown paper bags was so much more exciting and fulfilling than going to the shop and picking them off the shelves for me. It would be like, oh, like I forgot we got Sultana Brown. This is great. You know, look how big this orange is. And so then I think the next thing I got was I did like an online chemist order, like a pharmacy order. It was just like face creams and shampoos and conditioners, I think maybe a mascara. And when it arrived, it was like opening a Christmas present. And I'm Jewish, so I don't even have Christmas. So it was probably like my first Christmas. You know, it's like getting a gift from yourself, and I'm really good at knowing what I want. So it was a really great gift. And so then, you know, I bought something online. It was something really small, and I could have gone and picked it up from the store, and I actually paid like $5 delivery fee just so it could come home in a package. Because, you know, not knowing whether something's arriving on a particular day and then seeing it in your mailbox and taking it inside and actually opening a package and seeing what's in there, you know, is it exactly what I thought it was going to be? You know, does it match the item in my imagination? It's a thrill every single time. So yeah, I've been ordering a lot. I have a list on my phone of what I'm still expecting. Really?
I'm the same, but I've actually taken to ordering for other people as well to take away the guilt of spending too much money on myself. Have you been buying for other people as well and see the joy for them when they receive it?
Yeah, I've actually bought, I mean, you know, my best friend lives in Melbourne, so when she was in lockdown, I mean, now we're both in lockdown, but when she was in the long lockdown last year and then back again, I sent her a couple of things. She sent me a couple of things. You know, I opened the door one day and there was a whole bunch of cookies from, I think it's called the Cookie Dough Company in Melbourne, which we don't have here. And that was just so exciting to get a surprise. And I know she liked my surprises as well. But I've been buying a lot of things for my 13-year-old because lockdown is really hard on kids and especially now, you know, we're in school holidays. And so I started buying just little things like slime and wax and like candle making kits. And, you know, for her, the joy of opening something up is just fantastic. And the joy for me of seeing her open her packages, I suppose I should say it's greater than the joy of opening my own packages, but it's not, but it comes a very close second.
That's fair. You know, I realised we were ordering a lot when we had the same delivery driver, like a week apart. And you know, when a courier, you don't see the same couriers, but this guy turns up and he's gone, oh, did you get the box of blah, blah last week? And I've gone, what? How often have you been to my house? It's like, oh, yeah.
I see my postie coming. And sometimes, you know, if I'm out like walking in the street, I'll kind of, well, I won't jump on him, but I'll jump very near him. Anything for me today? And he's like, oh, sorry, love. And he always gets a little bit excited when he has something for me because I'm so happy about it. But, you know, I'm sure you guys have had it too. When you do order things online, there's always the risk of like a mistake. It's hard when you order things, you know, if you're not paying attention. So at one point, I thought I was just ordering a regular packet of rice with my online shopping. And when it arrived, it was 10 kilos. It was like the size of a person. And the kids and I literally had to clear out a cupboard for our packet of rice. And we eat rice maybe once every couple of weeks. So, you know, we've made a tiny, tiny dent. And in fact, when my daughter got into her candle making obsession and I went online and I bought what I thought were 3 big blocks of wax for her, like coloured wax. And I paid what I thought was a decent price. I didn't really know how much you pay for coloured wax. And I swear to you, when they arrived, there was an envelope. I'm like, how is this wax in an envelope? And they were the size of postage stamps. Like, I'd completely been conned. I literally got 3 postage stamp sized pieces of wax. So I just recommend people check the measurements before they buy things.
Yeah. Have you had any shopping fails, Shelley? You did whisper to us earlier in the show that you are quite the online shopper.
Well, I do no longer buy clothes online. That doesn't work for me. No. So I've actually stopped doing that. So I save myself a fortune waiting for shops to open. But I also figured, where do I wear them? So it's become like things I can enjoy and make, like your daughter. So I've been doing a lot of that, which has been fun. But
Nice.
no.
Yeah,
Clothing.
I don't buy clothing online either. I don't know how people do that. It never fits. And it's always weird fabrics that you don't imagine.
Yes, and I wouldn't even touch.
You can do it if you know.
in-store.
You can do it if you know the brands, I think. Because I've got a lot of friends who buy things online. It often doesn't work out for me. But I've bought things like T-shirts online and jeans that I've already had, the same brand.
Definitely.
I bought new running shoes recently online, but I had a whole consultation with the store and working out my sizes and it's a process. But there's lots that you can buy. If you go out looking that isn't actually clothes, I promise you. I bought a weighted blanket. I bought a weighted blanket. I bought one of those wearable blankets. We've bought socks. You've really got to focus, Shelley, and try a bit harder. It's not just about clothes.
I like that, Kerry.
I will do.
Don't give up. And if you can buy locally Australian-made stuff, fantastic. But I do like your commitment to keeping the economy alive there, Kes.
Look, it's very selfless of me. I'm an altruistic person, and everything I do is for other people. And I definitely try to buy locally. I've also been thrifting, and I've found some online stores that actually have donated goods, and then all the proceeds go to charity.
Oh, tell
and
me,
that's
what
just
are they?
Fantastic.
I'm so into that idea.
You go onto my Instagram account and look at the places I'm following, but it's, so every time I buy something, it's almost like giving a donation, but I'm getting a T-shirt in return.
Yeah.
So, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. I'm helping somebody. So again, just taking my selflessness to another level.
That's what we know you as, Kes. Very, very altruistic. Hey, thanks for joining us on Broad Radio again. It's been awesome as always, and good luck to everyone in New South Wales, as hopefully you are emerging out of lockdown, as are we. Go and get vaxxed, people, if you aren't already. I know that the 3 of us are.
Oh, absolutely.
And my son will be double vaxxed
and my kids.
Tomorrow.
Yay. Yeah, that's awesome. Alrighty, thank you so much, Kes. Great to see you. We'll see you again next time on Broad Radio. It's been awesome. And Shelley, I'm sorry, we're going to go off and have cake now, and you're joining me remotely, so no cake for you.
Just imagine.
Thanks to everybody who's joined us in the last 40 episodes of Broad Radio. There will be so many, many more, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Thanks so much, everyone.
Keep up, you gotta kick it with me.